read, but that's because I put so much work into this. I didn't realize, you know, I just can't abandon it at this point. So, good evening, everybody. I'm honored to share my experience of being an IDF soldier with everyone here. I wanted to thank Ariana, Heidi for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity, every opportunity I get to share my story. Again, my name's Adam. I served as a sharpshooter in the 202nd Airborne Battalion of the Israeli Defense Forces. I grew up in suburban New Jersey. I had my bar mitzvah, never spoke a word of Hebrew, never went to Jewish day camp, and until recently, I never even traveled to Israel. However, my family always instilled in me the importance of the Jewish state and the sacrifices that so many had made to preserve our homeland. I first traveled to Israel a week before my 23rd birthday on a birthright trip, and it was then that I actually realized my love for Israel. Though I was a complete stranger, the Israelis I met and extended my stay with really took me in. One thing they said that resonated with me: Israel is always here for you whenever you need her. You're Jewish, and Israel is the land of the Jews. And when you do return, you have a home. I knew I had to come back to Israel to do my part to defend this family, to defend the country, and then to defend my people. When I told my parents my plan, my dad responded as a father would to his son, telling him that he wanted to be the starting quarterback of the New York Giants. I mean, they couldn't believe that their 140-pound son, who couldn't do 10 push-ups, never been in a fight in his life, told them that he was going to travel halfway across the world to join one of the most elite fighting forces on the planet. And I didn't speak a word of Hebrew, so that also was a red flag. So when I landed at Ben Gurion Airport in September 2010, I faced the first challenge of being a lone soldier: not knowing where to live. The Army doesn't care about prospective Chayalim Bodedim. So I joined a 3-month program on a kibbutz near Haifa to learn Hebrew, and in return I worked in their fish farm as I waited for my enlistment date. It was here I met my girlfriend Steph, who's still with me today, and she would share the remainder of my journey with me in Israel. The kibbutz was so important to my integration into Israel, and this was mentioned before, because of my amazing host family. It's a kibbutz family that pretty much adopted Steph and myself as if we were their own, even though they already had 3 other kids. For me, they provided a support structure that most lone soldiers spend their entire service without. 3 months after arriving at the kibbutz, I was headed to the drafting center, ready to enlist in the IDF. Upon arrival, an Israeli soldier asked me in Hebrew, "Adam, echa avit shelcha?" Adam, how's your Hebrew? To which I responded, "Yes." And I had absolutely no idea, but I had just punched my ticket to Mikveh Alon, which is a training base in the north where all new immigrants come to learn Hebrew and basic soldiering skills before joining a combat unit. The unit I really had my heart set on was the paratroopers. Joining the paratroopers is not easy, as I'm sure a lot of these guys can tell you. You need to compete in the gibush, or tryout. That really means waking up at 4 a.m., doing wind sprints for hours, crawling until your elbows are raw, then crawling some more, gripping onto a burning hot monkey bar, hoping everyone around you lets go first, holding 60-pound sandbags over your head as you compete against a group of people, all hoping to be accepted into this elite group. And I was absolutely shocked when my name was called a week later and I was only one of 4 people accepted into the Israeli Airborne from my platoon. By strict coincidence, John happened to be another one of the 4. After I was accepted into the paratroopers and assigned to the 202nd, I started to realize how different I was compared to the average Israeli draftee. Where new recruits usually graduated high school just a few months before, I was 23 years old, a college graduate, and people were calling me Grandpa. My squad commander was even younger than my younger brother. It was completely surreal. Yet to become the best soldier I could be, I knew that I had to push the age difference out of my mind. For 7 months, we endured a rigorous training regimen designed to test our physical and mental fortitude and prepare us for the challenges faced by Israeli combat soldiers. We covered everything, including learning weapon systems, navigation techniques, advanced attack formations, ethics in combat, which I think is really unique to the IDF, and most importantly for us, jump school. Yet, admittedly, I was naive about course snicha, or jump school, because I thought, after all, we'd be learning how to jump. In reality, we're really just learning how to fall. So finally, after almost 2 weeks of falling from different apparatuses, some of which I'm pretty sure guaranteed I will never have children, we were seriously.
Sorry, Steph.
Seriously. We were finally walking into the back of a C-130 Hercules, ready to complete one of 5 necessary combat jumps to earn my wings. Quick story, on the ascent of our first training jump, one of my squad mates, a machine gunner, looked especially nervous. We were all apprehensive, without question, but no one looked quite like him. I leaned over and I said, "Don't worry, everything will be fine," which I only half believed myself. I mean, I didn't have any idea what to do if something went wrong. So he responded, "This is my first time in an airplane, bro." And Avichai is still the only person I know who has taken off in an airplane and never landed in one. On the other hand was my friend Asher, who literally fell asleep during the rides in the air. I had to wake him up when it was our turn to jump. So talk about people coming from all over the place. I mean, it's literally hard to believe. The last step in officially becoming a paratrooper is the Masak Mukta. It's a 75-kilometer march with a full pack to receive our division beret. This takes about 15 hours with occasional pit stops to drink water. The payoff is the greatest thing in the world. The coveted red beret donned by all IDF paratroopers. Once my commander put that beret on my head, I almost broke down in tears. There's a saying in the paratroopers, Pam Sankhan, Tamid Sankhan. Once a paratrooper, always a paratrooper. And I did it. Couldn't believe it, but I was an IDF paratrooper. Even in the proudest of moments, lone soldiers spend almost all of our free time thinking of home. There's nothing you can do to avoid it. One night, after an incredibly long day, I fell asleep and dreamt about being at home with my dog, Charlie. I was 100% convinced that when I woke up, I'd be in my bed in New Jersey. When my buddy woke me up for guard duty, I couldn't even comprehend what was happening. As reality set in and I geared up for my shift, I realized how homesick I was. The only people that truly understood this pain were fellow lone soldiers, all of whom, in my experience, have had these dreams. I served in 2 combat tours, one in Shechem or Nablus, and the other one in Lebanon. Once in Shechem, I was part of a 4-person team that patrolled a local suburb. To me, the thought of 4 Jews alone in the hotbed of Palestinian terrorist activity was almost too much to take in. Only once we returned from that mission did I truly understand what it meant to be a soldier, to accept difficult situations and to thrive in them, because no bond is as tight as the bond among soldiers. I finished my service as we were deployed on the Lebanese border. As happy as I was to join the Army, and as proud as I was to serve as a paratrooper, nothing compared to my joy to returning home. I love Israel. I'll always love Israel. However, life is just easier here. I'd accomplished my goal to serve in the IDF, and I know that I'll forever be ready to return if needed. Israel's always in need, and lone soldiers are always ready to answer the call. The paratroopers' main motto is Acharai, or after me. I joined the IDF so that I can help the Jewish people. I hope that this event inspires you all to do the same. Anyone can stand up and become a leader and a voice. With the global rise in anti-Semitism, our community needs to remember that we can always educate others and question those who let emotion trump reason. This summer, during Operation Protective Edge, it was incredibly trying not being in uniform. A feeling of hopelessness overtook me for weeks, especially after Mike Steinberg and Sean Carmelli, both lone soldiers like myself, like us, were killed. They died in the early stages of the operation. I felt grief as if I had lost family, and I never knew these men. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably felt the same. But that's what Israel is. It's a family. It's a cohesive community that cares and understands each other because the struggle is shared equally amongst its population. 30,000 people attended Sean Carmelli's funeral. Max Steinberg had 60,000. 60,000. All strangers, yet all Jews. 2 soldiers with no family in the country and probably only had a handful of friends were sent off by a community who truly loved them and appreciated them. It's for Max, Sean, and all the lone soldiers who have served and who have fallen that I share my story. So that people understand why we choose to leave our quiet lives of comfort and join a cause that's both bigger and deeper than our individual selves. So that when you hear a soldier say, "I wouldn't have wanted to be anywhere else in the world," as they're entering Gaza, you know why. It's a connection to their people, to our people, a responsibility that no one at this dais could ever imagine passing off onto somebody else. And it's so that you and me, the Jewish people, and our people will always have a home. Thank you.